Hello everybody and welcome to the final day of the 2022 F2 pre-season test. We are here this time at the Baku city circuit in Azerbaijan, unlike yesterday where we were at Buenos Aires in Argentina. I am JW97, I was obviously commentating earlier on for the top class, and I'm joined today by Danny.
Hello everyone.
Obviously back for a second day in a row, and hopefully there should be a lot more to talk about now that I'm in the commentary box. No disrespect to Blake there, but clearly you and Blake were struggling to talk about stuff, so luckily I'm in here to help out. Robbie's obviously not here at the moment. Obviously I won't give reasons as to why, but yeah, at the moment we don't. In fact, I say that I don't really know why, to be honest with you, but that's that. Obviously, hopefully he'll be back next week, of course. But for the meantime, you've got me and Danny for this week, and it was kind of the same reason why he wasn't there yesterday. So, anyway, let's get on with the second day of preseason testing, shall we? And as you can see, there is cloud cover at the track, but there is no rain expected. So hopefully this hour-long session should be a good one. And it's a bit odd, really, that it's on a street track for this one rather than a permanent racetrack. I think it's the first time ever that the OC has actually gone around a street track for a pre-season test. Of course, F2 will be going around here, and I think in about, if I was correct, I think in about 2 weeks' time for the second round of the season. And on the topic of the calendar, of course, we will be revealing the first round of the championship straight after this testing session, of course, because for anybody who is not aware, of course, the first race of the season is a voted track. So we will obviously be revealing that to you right at the end of the session to reveal what track is going to host the first race of the 2022 F2 season, which is, of course, going to take place next week, of course. So do look forward to that one. As of course, usually with Baku, it is a long loading screen because, of course, the textures around there do take a while to load up, so do bear with it. Will eventually load up. It's kind of a common thing with Baku ever since we started racing around this track back in the 2015 season with Fire Formula E. But we are now on the racetrack and we're preparing to go for the second day of pre-season testing whilst looking at Wojtek Kulizek. So, of course, it was briefly talked about yesterday by both Blake and Danny, but obviously, they didn't go in full, really, as to what the driver lineup is for this season for anybody who might be a bit confused still. So we might as well go through that and also go through the calendar that's there as well. I know it was mentioned yesterday, but for anybody who was, of course, didn't watch yesterday's stream, they might not know. So we might as well go through that as well. So the driver lineup then for 2022 is as follows, as we've got some cars making their way out onto the track. Starting with High Tech Grand Prix, the defending champions, of course, in the series after taking a 1-2 finish in the championship last season with both Ioannis Martins and, of course, Samet Oskan. Of course, they've got a new lineup for this season as a result of Ioannis Martins moving over to the top class and, of course, Samet Oskan moving to a different team. Their new lineup consists of Aji Prazan, who moves over from Formula E, and he is joined by Ruslan Protsiuk, who moves over from MP Motorsport. A new team for Ruslan after a few seasons with MP Motorsport, and he's looking to hopefully finally get that championship he's been waiting for such a long time. Moving over to Uni Virtuosi Racing, a bit of a meme here in the F2 fraternity, because usually we say Uni Virtuosi tax. You know, in real life with the Prema tax, well, over here we've got Uni Virtuosi tax, because it seems like every single season Virtuosi always seem to do well in this series, and has been the case since they first rebranded Russian Time back in, I'm trying to think when it was the 2019 season, I think they rebranded. So anyway, their lineup, again, is a new lineup for them. They've got Andrei Sazonov, who moves over from DTM, and he is joined by Fonchanek Keoshani, who moves over from Dams, of course. Moving over to Charou's Racing System, they have actually retained their lineup from last season, and that being Joseph Frederick Suto and Alexander Arnold, and both of them hoping to have a good season in 2022. Moving over to Dams, of course, we have Jafari Blackwood, who stays at the team for another season, and he is joined by 2021 DTM champion Kai Sereznia, who of course replaces Fonchanek Keoshani at the team as a result of the Thai driver moving over to Uni Virtuosi Racing. Moving over to MP Motorsport. Tobias Kress stays at the team for another season, but with Ruslan Protsiuk moving over to High Tech Grand Prix, he's got a new teammate in the form of last season's runner-up, Samet Oskan, who moves over from High Tech Grand Prix. So essentially both Oskan and Protsiuk essentially swapping seats from last season, really, because of course Protsiuk was at MP Motorsport last season, and Oskan was at High Tech. Well, this season they've kind of switched places, really. So it's Oskan and Kress over at MP Motorsport. Trident have Aaron Curtis, who remains with the team for another season, still determined to try and get onto that top class grid after winning the 2020 GP2 title, and he's got a new teammate in the form of Adam Chobar, who moves over from Van Amersfoort Racing and is hoping to redeem himself after what was a pretty 50-50 season for the Slovakian driver in 2021. Moving over to Prema Racing, Agatina Bavona remains with the team for another season after a quite okay first season in Formula 2, but could have been better. But he's got a new teammate in the form of Wojciech Kulizek, who returns to the Feeder Series fraternity for the first time since 2020. And of course, last season he spent the 2021 season in Formula E, and he'll be hoping to redeem himself here in Formula 2 now with Prema Racing. Moving over to Carlin, a new lineup for them, which consists of Jake Tilsley, who moves over from Formula E, as Synonym looks like he's having a moment through into that left-hander, and his teammate is Nicholas Zorbach, who returns to the Feeder Series fraternity for the first time since 2020, I believe, also with Carlin as well. So he's kind of returned to the same team that he was previously at and looking to have a good season in 2022. Moving over to Van Amersfoort Racing, a new lineup for them. Hento Synonym joins the team, moving over from the I believe it was Carlin he drove for last season, and his teammate will consist of Santino Andrioli, who returns to the Feeder Series fraternity for the first time since 2020 after spending last season fighting for the Formula E title with Michael Mocho, and he's hoping to redeem himself this season with Van Amersfoort Racing. Moving over to ART Grand and he's joined by Bernardo de Oliveira, who moves up from the entrance series. We've got a yellow flag down at the first corner. So we've got a yellow flag at turn 1. Who has caused that? I'm not sure, because the camera for some reason is not going to that yellow flag. We've got a yellow flag down at turn 1, and oh, it's Alexander Arnold. He's had a crash down at the first corner, so I think he's gone a little bit too fast there, Danny.
Yep. Flo mentioned this yesterday that there might be more action here, and we are already getting it, so...
Yep, of course, I think he does have the mistake rate as well for these sessions as well, so I think that's kicking into an effect as Arnold's car is going to get hoisted over the barriers. I'll be interested to know how on earth that has occurred, really, and I'm going to imagine he obviously carried a bit too much speed into that first corner. Here he is. No, that's Aaron Curtis. Here is Alexander Arnold. Let's see what happened to him as he goes into the first corner, and yep, just went a bit too quickly there and straight into the wall. As he's now gonna, I don't know if we have a spare car ban in this or not, so I'm not 100% sure on that, if I'm being totally honest. So I don't know if he'll be allowed to go back out again. I know there's a spare car ban in the series as you're in, and yep, that confirms it because Flo had pressed the pause button. So we do have a spare car ban in this series. So it means that Arnold's session is already over, really, because there's no other car for him to go out in. So that's his pre-season test done with, and not exactly the way he wanted to well, basically have his pre-season test here in Baku, really, and well, he's going to have to go into. He's going to have to wait now until next week to get some running in that car. As the spare car ban has now been used. So let's get back to the driver lineup. As mentioned, ART Grand Prix of Joao Pedro Kirby, who moves over from World Champ Car, and his teammate is Bernardo de Oliveira, who moves over from the Entrance Series after finishing 5th in that championship. And finally, Campos Racing have an all-British lineup in their team, consisting of Alex Broster, who returns to the Feeder Series fraternity for the first time since 2020 after spending last season driving for Virgin Racing in Formula E, and his teammate consists of James Sturt, who moves over from DTM. And that is the lineup for 2022, and hopefully we should be in for a competitive season, Danny.
Yes, indeed, of course. A few newcomers as well, but a lot of moving around as Chobot makes a small mistake. So should be an interesting season.
Indeed, as Chobot now then coming across the line. Of course, Flo has mentioned that he will sort out the helmets before the first race next week, which is at, well, wherever that is going to be, because of course we still don't know where that's going to be. Of course, we'll be revealing that to you after the preseason test here at Baku today comes to a close. And let us know your predictions, guys, in the stream chat on what you believe will be the first race of the season. Of course, it can't be a track that's on the top class calendar. Of course, they are the rules, so do bear in mind of that one. As meanwhile, I've noticed that one car is still yet to do a lap at the moment. There's only been 21 cars that have done a lap, and that's James Sturt. Now, what's happened to James Sturt? Did he get left behind or not? I'm not sure, because did he have some kind of mechanical problem, in fact? Because I don't remember seeing any yellow flags coming out for James Sturt. We'll have a look, and we're trying to see if we can find anything as we're fast-forwarding through the footage here. But something did happen to James Sturt. I wonder if it did have something to do with Alexander Arnold. Let's see. And, well, Arnold's not there, so it has nothing to do with that. I wonder if it's a mechanical problem then that he's had. Yes, a mechanical problem. You just see it there as he was going into turn 3, and it was a loose wheel that took care of him. Luckily, he was able to get back into the pits, because of course there was no yellow flags in any of the other areas, so he was able to get back to the pits, as you can see, and was luckily able to get that wheel of his repaired. So luckily his session didn't come to an end, unlike Alexander Arnold, and was able to get back out onto the racetrack as a result. The calendar, of course, for this season, for anybody who needs a refresh, of course. Obviously, yesterday we were at Buenos Aires for the first day of pre-season testing, and today, of course, we're at Baku for the final day of pre-season testing. Also, for the rest of the calendar, the first race of the season will be the first voted track of the season, and of course, we will be revealing that to you after this test session comes to a close. Round 2 will be the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku. Round 3 of the championship will be the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. I had to think there for a moment. It is the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Round 4 of the championship is the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalonia, before they then head off to the Austrian Grand Prix at Spielberg in 2 weeks' time. Then it's the British Grand Prix at Silverstone for round 6. And then round 7 of the championship will be the second voted track of the season, which will happen during the week of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Round 8 will be the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa-Francorchamps. Round 9, the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, before we head off to Portimao for the Portuguese Grand Prix of round 10. Round 11 will be the wildcard race, so obviously that one is decided by Flo himself, so he will decide what that track is going to be for round number 11. Round 12 will then be the third and final voted track of the season, so it'll be interesting to see what that will be. And then round 13, the last race of the season, is going to be the first ever Argentine Grand Prix in Baku. Of course, it is subject to track testing for Formula 2, but as we speak, round 13 is going to be Baku at this point in time. So that is the 13 race calendar. Of course, no Interlagos, because that's not on the top class calendar, but who knows really, it could end up being on the calendar either via a voter track or the wildcard race, which is of course round number 11. Briefly, we saw Tilsley and Protsuk tied at the top of the timing screens, but now that's been taken away by Andrea Sazonov, who goes to the top of the timing sheets. And so far, both Sazonov and Protsuk have looked pretty quick across the both days so far, Danny, from yesterday, because they were in the top 3 yesterday for most of it.
Yeah, we did mention with Blake yesterday that Protsuk could be a contender for the title. Looking at his past performances and how he's doing in testing as well, so should be pretty interesting to see those guys. They are doing pretty well so far in the testing.
Yep, indeed, and it will be interesting to see how they fare, of course, as we're currently riding on board with Hento Sinanome, and now we're looking at James Sturt, who is about to set a lap time at last after his mechanical problem a little bit earlier on in the session, as he just makes his way through into the left-hander. And let's see what his middle sector is going to look like compared to Sazonov. Meanwhile, 3 tenths down in that middle sector, so just looking at the pace relatively to the rest of the pack, I think he could be around about where Jafari Blackwood is. He's currently up in 4th. There's a lock up there for Aji Prazan in the high tech as he just negotiates through into that left-hander. Prazan, of course, finally making his debut in the feeder series after many seasons in the OC, and looking like he's still trying to get to grips with the car after yesterday he kind of struggled a little bit. Here comes James Sturt across the line, and he goes actually into ninth, so he lost a lot more time than I was anticipating there, but he does go into the top 10. Joe Pedro Kirby goes into 18th. He's right on board with Santino Andreoli in the Red Bull liveried Van Amersfoort Racing, as he now just negotiates through the right hand. The Broster goes into 16th, meanwhile, in the Campos, whilst his teammate Sturt is up in 9th position. Meanwhile, it looks like Joao Pedro Kirby trying to get by on, I think that's one of the Uni Virtuosis he's trying to get by, or it's a Damned, I'm not 100% sure. They do have, trying to figure out, no, I think it's a Damned he was trying to get by there. I was just trying to work that one out there, as Andreoli's just going to go up the hill. Here's Adam Chobot. Of course, last season was a little bit of a shaky season for him, given that it was not really the best of seasons for Chobot, given he was a championship contender in 2020, but looking to redeem himself now that he is teammates with the man he was fighting with the title in 2020, that being Aaron Curtis, although Curtis did look a little bit off the pace yesterday in the Trident, although today, where is he at the moment, Curtis? He is 12th at the moment, so a tad bit better than yesterday, but still a bit of work to do, as Broster has a lockup going through into that double right-hander, and we are seeing quite a lot of lockups in this session so far.
Indeed. And of course, we had that one Alex Arnold mistake, which we could be seeing more of, as, of course, mistake rates and free track. So, yeah.
Indeed, as we now look at Nicholas Zorbach, who's 2 seconds down the Milsender. I wonder if he's getting held up by that bit of traffic that's in front of him at the moment. Zorbach currently, where is he at the moment? He's currently in 15th place, obviously determined to actually have a good season, unlike previously when he was in the series. And as he's now going to come across the line, a few cars coming back into the pits on this occasion, as I'm having issues with my stream over on YouTube for some reason. So yeah, a bit of annoying, annoying on my end. As here comes Jake Tilsley in the Carlin, as obviously he's moved over from Formula E after a pretty impressive season in 2021. I think he actually won the final race of the season, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but I think he did. On that race, of course, where Michael Mocho took the title, which was enough to him to get the Haas seat alongside Barges Kloss for this season in 2022. So we've got another crash, and that is Alex Broster, who's had a crash into turn 2, and that's another car out of the test here at Baku. And in fact, looking at the red indicator at the top, unless that was a crash, it might have been actually a mechanical failure that took care of him, because there is a red indicator on the top of his def panel there. So I wonder if it was actually a mechanical failure and not an actual crash. I'll be curious to see what that was like. And it is a mechanical failure. You just saw it on the steering wheel. So it is a mechanical failure, and it's a gearbox issue for Alex Broster. So mechanical failures for Campos here.
Indeed. Well, we didn't mention mechanical failures, so another thing to keep in mind.
Indeed so, and let's have a look and see what happened here then. And yep, there it goes. It just went just after he came out of turn 2 there. Luckily, nobody collected his wheel there, including Aji Prazan, who, well, luckily, the wheel actually bounced on Broster's rear wing there. Had that not bounced on his rear wing, I'm pretty certain Prazan would have collected that. As well, that's Broster's session done with, so he'll also, like with Alexander Arnold, get the spare car ban put onto his wagon, and that will be a session done with. So only 20 cars left in this pre-season test, with just over 46 minutes to go in this session, and currently Sazonov at the top by nearly 2/10 out of both Tilsley and Protsuk, who both set an identical time. Tilsley ahead of Sazonov, of course, ahead of Protsuk, of course, because he set the time first before Protsuk did. And Broster is about to get hoisted over the barriers, which he does now. And that's his session done with. And Flo will quickly install the spare car ban on him. As we look around, and there he is. So he'll just install it. Meanwhile, Curtis, while all that is going on, has just gone up into 4th place in the Trident. So, yeah, that's that. So he's got up to 4th. So showing some better signs than what he did yesterday at Buenos Aires, so having already a better session than what he did yesterday, as We are now back underway as the spare car ban has now been implemented on Alex Broster's car. As Suto now goes to the top of the timing sheets with a 1 minute 49.895, so he now goes quicker by 4/10 of a second, breaking into the 1 minute 49s. Prazan improves to go up into 7th place, so some more improvements happening on this occasion as Crest just makes his way out of that chicane. Also got Santino Andrioli following him as they now make their way into the double right-hander, but a very good lap there for Joseph Frederick Suter at the top. So far, everybody's in a Chiru sandwich as a result of Arnold being in last in this session, and obviously will remain last because, of course, he crashed early on in the session. So everybody essentially in a Chiru sandwich. So this is probably not the best sandwich to be in, it's fair to say. But anyway, as Oskin just goes into turn 3 there, he's got a couple of cars he's catching up with. Of course, Oskin set the fastest time yesterday, of course, beating both Sazonov and Protsiuk. And currently today, as Prazan has a lock-up, Oskin is currently in 9th. So he's still in the top 10 at the moment, just over a second behind Joseph Federic Suto. So who knows, really? I mean, given that Oskin just missed out on the title last season, who knows, really? Could we potentially be seeing him compete for the title this season again, this time with MP Motorsport?
Could happen. And by the way, another man having a lot better session than yesterday is Agi Prazan, actually. He was 19th yesterday, and he's looking better today. I mean, P7, he's in the top 10 at least.
Yep, doing a much better job. So that means that both high techs are currently in the top 10, with Proxiuk up in 4th, and obviously, as you mentioned, Prazan in 7th place. There's Kulazek 1.2 seconds off the pace, so I wonder if if his tyres might be a little bit destroyed as on this occasion, as we look at Serezny, who just comes out of turn 2, and he's actually coming into the pits this time by Serezny, hoping to do well in his first appearance in the feeder series, of course. Obviously, he won the DTM championship last season. He won it at the penultimate race of the season, in fact, and he's looking to see if he can continue that into Formula 2 and hopefully challenge for the championship if he can, because Dam's had a pretty strong season in 2021 with both Blackwood and Keoshane. Blackwood, of course, staying at the team, but of course, Keoshane now at Uni Virtuosi, and his teammate, as a result, Blackwood's teammate now being Sereznia, so they'll be hoping to hopefully still do a good job in 2022. But as we've seen many times in F2, things can change all the time, and it's no guarantee that Dams are going to be my headphones there decided to have a bit of a moment. But as I was saying, there was obviously no guarantee that they're going to be competitive again in 2022. It's all really a bit of a question mark, really, as we look at Aaron Curtis, who's just coming towards middle sector, and he's 7/10 down in that middle sector so far. So as Curtis now then just making his way towards the final few turns, which is both flat out. And obviously, on the other side of the track, you could see some passes. Whoa, De Oliveira there having a moment through into the double left-hander there, clearly pushing a bit too hard at the moment in that ART Grand Prix car. And obviously, we'll be able to tell the difference between Kirby and De Oliveira throughout the season, because De Oliveira, who's actually 7/10 up on his personal best, so he's looking at quite a good lap here, is De Oliveira, who's currently 14th at the moment. Obviously, he's got the green ART Grand Prix car, whereas his teammate Joe Pedro Kirby has got the blue ART Grand Prix car. So obviously gives us a clue as to who's who, basically. Just going to look on the left-hand side. Does De Oliveira actually improve? Because he was looking quite quick. He could actually get up to second place with that lap, and he does, in fact. But thanks to that little mistake I think he made, he's actually 3/10 off of Suto. So he goes second with that time, does Bernardo De Oliveira. As we now look at Tobias Cressy, who has a big lock-up going through into the double right-hander there. And so many people locking up going into that corner there. So, I think it's safe to say that we are, as you mentioned, Danny, especially yesterday, we are seeing some more mistakes here today.
Yep. I think we saw altogether 3 mistakes yesterday, so it's already a big improvement. And of course, I'm gonna forget his name.
The one who just locked up?
No, Bernardo de Oliveira, that's what I'm talking about. Of course, coming from the Entrance Series, so a bit of a step up from the Entrance Series to F2. Great job by him. And it will be interesting to see what he can do in this
Yes, indeed,
Yeah.
and it should be interesting to see indeed how well he can do in his first season in the feeder series. We look at Agatina Bavona, who had a lot of hype surrounding him when he came to F2 last season, especially when he came off a very dominant spell in Formula E. And although the season got off quite well for him at the start of 2021, it kind of he kind of faded by the wayside when we got to the second half of the season. But looking to bounce back this season, currently up on his personal best by 4/10 of a second in the middle sector, so be interested to see what he can do when he crosses the line. James Sturt across the line he will go, and he does not improve, as nor does the cars behind him, but be curious to see where Bavona goes on the leaderboard. He's currently in 18th place at the moment, so not exactly ideal for the Italian, and he goes up to 13th, unlucky for some, but not quite able to get into the top 10 at this stage of pre-season testing, as Sturt will now make his way down towards the left-hander, as we have just under 40 minutes to go in this pre-season test. So Sturt now then just making sure he doesn't have any more problems, unlike what he had earlier on in the session. As we look at Jake Tilsley, currently in 4th place in the Carlin, as Kirby meanwhile goes 18th, whilst his teammate De Oliveira is up in 2nd place. As here comes Jake Tilsley now then, across the line he will go, and so now across the line will go the British driver, and he does not improve, he stays where he is. What about the high tech behind him? And that's Protsuk, and he goes to the top of the timing sheets by only 92 thousandths of a second there. So Protsuk to the top now with a 1 minute 49.803. So another man to break into the 1 minute 29. Andreoli is up on his personal best, but it looks like he might have made a mistake going through into the left-hander there, but he's still up on his personal best. So let's see what the Van Amersfoort racing driver can do. He's currently in, where is he at the moment? He's for the moment, so he should get back into the top 10, but how far into the top 10? Let's see. And no, he won't, because the auto camera's decided to tell us to go away, as Andreoli goes knife as another crash.
China.
It's Chaos Jane, and it's another big accident for there. Somebody's collected him, and that's Tilsley. He's lost his front wing. Protsuk luckily avoids any debris, but for Chaos Jane, it's another accident, and that's the 3rd person out of this test.
Okay, so more mistakes.
Yep, clearly
this is what we talked about in the beginning. More mistakes, street track and everything, so 3rd DNF now.
Yep, we're on to 3 now, so strike 3 in terms of drivers, and obviously we already saw Keoshane, and it is the wheel that was the culprit in why Tilsley lost his front wing. Nothing really he could have done to avoid that, and he's going to have to come back into the pits to get a new front wing. But for Keoshane, that's his session done with. I don't think Univirtuosi are going to be particularly happy about that one.
Very unorthodox way to crash a car, I might add.
Yeah, and I think it's just a case of taking a bit too much speed. In fact, he got a bit of oversteer, in fact. Might have clipped the curb on the way as well, and it's kind of bounced his car towards the wall, essentially. And, well, that's pretty much ended Keoshane's pre-season test here today, and now the focus for him will be on the first race of the season in wherever that's going to be. Of course, for anybody who's just joined, we will be revealing what the first voted track of the season is going to be after this pre-season test comes to a conclusion. But for Keoshane, that's his session done with, so only one Univirtuosi left in the session, and that will come courtesy of Jafari Blackwood. Not Jafari Blackwood, sorry, Univirtuosi, that being that was his teammate last season, Keoshane. His teammate this season is, of course, Andrei Sazonov, who's currently up in 4th position. And we're just waiting for Keoshane's car to appear back in the pit lane so that we can implement the spare car ban on him. And so as Prazan's just starting another lap there, and there he is, he's now in pit lane, so we'll just quickly get that put onto the car, and then he won't be able to come back out. So 3 cars won't be allowed to take part in the session as a result of the spare car ban. Arnold, thanks to a crash at turn 1, Keoshane because of a crash at the chicane, and of course Broster, who unfortunately had a gearbox issue which forced him out of this pre-season test, saw him pulling over right at the exit of turn number 2. But anyway, Jafari Blackwood now, they're making his way down towards the left-hander now then, as he's got one of the Charouz racing cars chasing him down. I'm not sure which one that is. I think it might be looking at the sponsorship, I think that's Jose Frederic Suto, because I think Arnold's got more green on his car than what Suto has. Another lock up into that corner, this time come courtesy of Joao Pedro Kirby, as Santino Andreoli now goes up into 6th position, as Ceresnia goes 13th, so a better lap for the Polish driver there, as he just sneaks in front of Agatina Bavona there. As now Kirby will now make his way towards the double left-hander on the racetrack as he flicks the car in for the first part and then into the second part as Blackwood crosses the line, does not improve, and nor did Suto behind, who's still second at the moment. As Zorbach had a bit of a moment there going through into turn 3, but luckily didn't put it in the wall. Of course, he does have some bad memories of Baku. Back in 2017 in the top class, in his first ever appearance in the top class, he actually smacked it into the wall at turn 4, really, putting an end to his first ever top class race. And yeah, it was basically a season that he's been doing his best to forget, really, since then, really, as he's actually up on his personal best by 7/10 in the first sector. As we look at Jafari Blackwood, he looks like he is getting caught up now by Jose Frederic Suto as they make their way through into the left-right chicane. And so we're just over 35 minutes to go. This is what the leaderboard looks like as Chobach has a bit of a lockup going through into the castle section. It's Protsuk at the top with Suto in second, De Oliveira in third with Sazanov fourth, Tilsley in fifth, then it is Andrioli in sixth, Curtis in seventh, Blackwood in eighth, Prazan in ninth, then it is Chobot 10th, Kulazek in 11th with Oskin in 12th, Sereznia 13th, Bavona 14th, 13th, 15th, Kress in 16th with Sinanome in 17th, Zorbach 18th, Kirby 19th, Broster in 20th, then Keoshani 21st, and Arnold in 22nd position. And yeah, big lock up there again for, I think that was Chobot we were looking at there, and really pushing hard on this lap.
Yep, as Chresnia might be about to improve again.
And yes, he does. He gets into the top 10. And Zorbach goes up to 4th in the meantime. So he was able to improve on his time. So a big improvement there from the German driver. As Blackwood is coming into the pits this time by. He peels to the left. So Suto is now free from the traffic. As Curtis, looking like he had a bit of a moment going out of turn 1 there. But luckily was able to correct the car as the Irishman makes his way down towards turn number 3. And so that's pretty much that, as now we look at Curtis, who comes out of turn 3 now then, before approaching the right-hander. And so far then, the drivers who have had issues in this session and won't be able to take part in this session are currently the bottom 3 drivers. Broster, of course, having his gearbox issue, Keoshani crashing, and Arnold also crashing as well. So only 19 cars left in this preseason test here at Baku, as we now look at the man who finished runner-up last season, Samet Oskan, looking to see if he can do a good job in the MP Motorsport this season, as he now makes his way towards the double right-hander now then. He's actually 42 thousandths up on his personal best in the first sector. Currently 14th at the moment is the Swedish driver, as he now makes his way up through the castle section, and now through the right and left-hander he goes. Andrioli looking to do a good job this season, of course. The Frenchman, after a disastrous time last time he was here, of course, which was in 2020. But so far showing some good pace, showing the pace that he showed last season in Formula E. Whether he can continue that for the entirety of the season, we will have to wait to see, especially if he wants to try and get into the top class in 2023, as Andrioli doesn't improve and he stays in 7th place as he just makes his way through the first corner. So Resnia further improves but remains in 9th position. Now he's 65 thousandths behind Aaron Curtis's Trident. So here is Kai Resnia, speak of the devil, as now coming out of turn 2 then will go the Polish driver, as he will now make his way towards turn number 3 on the racetrack, as Sturt now goes up into 4th place in the Campos. Oskin goes up to 13th, so more improvements coming in as Sturt now gets his Campos into the top 4. And now Sereznia just going around the right hand. He goes a lock up there for Nicholas Zorbach going through into that chicane there, but he's currently up in 5th place at the moment, is the German driver. And so far having a decent session at this point in time, going through the double right-hander we will go. And just on the topic of the voted tracks, by the way, of course, Flo did mention that it was actually quite the fact. Obviously, last season we introduced the whole thing of where the F2 drivers voted in a what's it called? Like a forum sheet or something like that. Can't think of the
Sort.
actual. Something like that, Google Sheets form or something like that, and it seemed to go pretty well, including this season. It's been a very good turnout, so it's fair to say that the switch from it being viewed in the public to actually now just being voted via DMs now is actually turning out to be quite a success, and it had a 100% turnout. Flow did so. All 22 drivers were able to vote on this occasion. We didn't have normally what happens in previous seasons where some usually miss out on the vote. Although Flo has mentioned that one was actually invalid because the person actually filled it out wrong. Although he's not going to reveal who that person is. So that's pretty much that. As Prazan makes his way towards the double right-hander, again a big lockup going through into the corner there. Some more locking ups going through there. I think we're just going to have a very deep tyre mark through into that corner there. I think it's these cars are definitely going to leave their mark after this pre-season test comes to a close, I would think, Danny.
Yep, a lot of mistakes through that corner. Oskan goes 11th meanwhile. I wanted to get on Presny again. He had quite a bad impression yesterday. He came in 21st, of course. Won the DTM championship last season, quite dominantly actually. So he's looking to do well here.
And obviously looking to see if he can try and compete for the title this season. If he can, we'll try and get used to these cars for this season and then try and bounce back for 2023. We'll have to see what his aims are really throughout the course of the season. Another lockup there, this time from Suto. A lot of people locking up as Oskan was another lockup there now. So we're seeing quite a lot of lockups going through into that right-hander. Driver's really pushing hard through that part of the track. Although I think that was an even bigger lockup for that occasion for Summit Oskan in the MP Motorsport. So yeah, they're both really pushing hard on this occasion as he just makes his way through into the double left-hander. Just under half an hour to go now then in this session, and it's all looking very good as Blackwood now then makes his way through into the left-hander. And so far, Blackwood currently in, where is he? He's currently 12th at the moment, 9 tenths off the pace. And so far, his teammate, well, of course, he's the only, no, in fact, what am I talking? I'm still getting confused with the Dams and the Uni Virtuosi. I do apologise, we've got another crash. And it's Sazonov, the man who's currently in 6th place, and he looks like he's done the same thing as his teammate, coincidentally. Fonchanek Keoshani must be a Uni Virtuosi thing at that corner, and yep, similar error.
Similar, but not the same. He just, well, the rear end just snapped out and he put it in the wall, basically.
And that's Uni Virtuosi's day in this testing session done with, as both of them are now out of it. So now the focus for them is on to next week for the first race of the season. So I think his car's just gonna crawl to where the double right-hander is, like with Fonchanek Keoshani as earlier on, and that will be session done with. Luckily, the wheel on this occasion has actually gone to the side of the track, so luckily nobody will be able to collect it on that occasion. But that is Andrei Sazonov done with, and well, the focus is now on to the first race of the season for Sazonov, and he's now going to go over the barriers now then. As now we will, obviously the spare car ban will be implemented on his. The others who have had the spare car ban implemented on them, he's not actually in the bottom part of the leaderboard. He's up in the 6th place. So be interested to see where Sazonov ends up after this session, of course, now that he can't take any further part in the session. We just wait for the spare car ban to be implemented, and now it has. I was just paying attention to chat there. But anyway, Kulazek making his way up the hill meanwhile, as he's currently down on his personal best. As we got a yellow flag down at turn 1 this time. Hasn't there been another accident? Yes, there has. It's Tilsley who's gone off at the first corner. And, well, it looks like after he lost his front wing earlier on, this track has now caught him out.
Yeah, same mistake as Arnold, I'm guessing.
It does appear like it is the same corner where Arnold had the crash. So another person out of this session. So there's now 17 cars left in this testing session. It's becoming a bit like a demolition derby at the moment, Danny.
Yeah.
As,
Well, we
in
did
fact,
mention more crashes, but we didn't mean this many crashes.
yeah, I wonder how long this is going to take the marshals to clear, because it seems like they're taking him to a further part of the barrier, unlike what they did with Alexander Arnold a little bit earlier on. And yep, looking at it from briefly, it looks like it is the same mistake. And in fact, on this occasion, I think it might have been a lockup rather than going a bit too quickly into the first corner. So, yeah, a bit of a driver error there. So that's now 5 cars out of this session. So now only 17 cars remain. So for Tilsley, the focus is now on the first race of the season, as the car is actually going to be moving on its own, really. I think the Marshals has pushed it fast enough to allow it to get to the point where the crane is going to hoist it over the barrier, so then we can implement the spare car ban on him. So, yeah, that's that then. And so now he's now being hoisted over the barriers, and that will be his session done with. So now only 17 cars remain in this testing session, as we now wait for his car to appear in the garage for Carlin, as Zorbach's in the pit lane, his teammate that is, and just waiting for him to appear very soon. Where is he? Still not appeared in the garage just yet, as what's his name? Tilsley. I forgot his name there for a minute. Jake Tilsley. As we wait for him, there he is. He's now in the pit lane, so now we can get the spare car ban implemented on him. Not ban on him. My tongue decided to twist itself there, so apologies there. So, yeah, just under 26.5 minutes to go in this preseason test, and hopefully that's probably the last we're going to get. But knowing this track, that probably won't be the last of the crashes that we see today. As Chobot making his way through the double right-hander, as we ride on board with Samatoskan now in the MP Motorsport. He had a moment going through into that part of the track, but thankfully we're not able to get it into the barriers, and he's able to continue going, as he's currently in 11th position and now making his way down towards the left-hander. And so now down the hill he goes, making his way towards the 90-degree left-hander now then, as he will be preparing to finish off his lap. Chobot also down his personal best, a lock up there for Defy Blackwood in the Dams car, as he's now going to be approaching the final couple of corners on the racetrack now then, as he flicks it through the left and then into the right-hander. He will go, as we ride on board with James Sturt, who's coming into the pits this time by, so in the pit lane he will now go, as Blackwood now then across the line. He will go in the Dams car. He's got a couple of cars right, but in fact it's only one car. The camera was a little bit deceiving there. So now we look at Protsuk. Chobot improves to go up into 12th position. Protsuk having a bit of a moment going through into turn 3 there, as he's currently at the top of the timing screens at the moment, a 1 minute 49.803 for the ex-reserve driver or test driver in the series. No longer got a test or reserve role anymore with Red Bull. He's now a free agent, as it were, because now Santino Andreoli has now got Red Bull branding on his car. As we look at Chobot now then, he's just going around turn 3. Looks like he's probably getting a healthy bit of slipstream from, I think that is Jafari Blackwood in front of him now then, as they now make their way towards the left-right chicane, flicking it in for the left and then through into the right-hander now. Then we will go, and let's see what his first sector looks like then, as he is 2 tenths up on his personal best, so maybe more improvement to come from the Slovakian driver, as he will now make his way up through the castle section and through into the castle he goes, using a lot of curb on that inside line there. And so some people are saying it might be a bit of rustiness that's going on with the drivers today. It's like a bit of a back-to-school feeling, really, for the Formula 2 drivers. And clearly they're still trying to get rid of some of the rust that has probably been left from last season, really, in some cases. But anyway, Protsuk across the line, he will go in the high-tech Grand Prix. Can he improve on his 1 minute 49? I don't think he will. And note, 1.1 seconds off. Another yellow flag down at turn 1. Who's it this time? And it's Andreoli. Santino Andreoli in the Van Amersfoort racing car, and I think that's a similar error to Alexander Arnold. So, and of course, Jake Tilsley. So Andreoli's session has come to a close, and now we're down to 16 runners in this testing session.
I think that's gonna be the Jake Tilsley tail. Look up.
He's getting hoisted over that barrier instead of where Jake Tilsley was getting hoisted over
Yep.
a little bit earlier on, although it looks like the marshals are a bit undecided as to what to do with his car. So, yeah, now they've decided to move his car there, and he'll be in the pit lane very soon. I think we'll soon get a replay of it once Andrioli's car is in the garage, whenever that will be. He's obviously driving for Van Amersfoort Racing, of course, so I don't know what garage slot that is. I don't know if Flo does it in garage order in this series or what, but that's pretty much that as we wait to find him in the garage, which we... There he is.
Do.
Here he is. So we now get the spare car ban implemented, and I think we're probably going to get a replay once it gets implemented onto the car. So add 6 to that now onto there. And so that's an accident there for Santino Andreoli. As now we're going to see a replay of how it happened, really, for the last season's Formula E runner-up. As we're trying to find his car. In fact, I think we just saw it there. There it is, going into the first corner, and I think that's an Alexander Arnold mistake because it looks like there was no lock-up there. So I think he'd gone in a bit too quickly there. So yeah, that's pretty much that then for Andrioli, and that's his session done with as a result. Zorbach, meanwhile, goes up into third position in the Carlin, so that's P3 now for the German driver, and so P3 for Nicolas Zorbach as Adi Prazan goes back onto the racetrack. As now we look at Jafari Blackwood, who's currently holding up, I think that's Adam Chobot just behind him, as Curtis now, speaking of Tridents, goes up into 7th place. As Chobot trying to find a way from Blackwood. I think he might try and overtake him into the first corner. We will wait and see, of course, as he makes his way in towards the final couple of corners, but he's pulled out a bit too early there to go for an overtake, so he's probably wasted his chance there to try and get by him into the first corner. He lost out on quite a bit of momentum coming out of that final couple of corners, as now Chobot will come down the pit straight, and he will cross the line now then, and no improvement for the Slovakian driver. He stays where he is for the time being, as he just makes his way through the first couple of corners, as obviously his lap would have been compromised as a direct result of that. Curtis is now out, so we're now down to 15 runners in this section. So we're now down to 15 as Curtis has made an error. Luckily, that wheel is just off the racing line there, and it looks like he's made a similar error to what the Uni Virtuosi drivers did. And yeah, it's a similar error, really. He's just smacked it into the wall, and I wonder if Flo's probably starting to regret going to Baku for a pre-season test because of how many drivers are being taken out here thanks to the spare car ban that we have. I wonder if he'll think about a change of location for next season, because I think Baku's not really a testing venue, if we're being totally honest. But there we are. As Curtis now then. And so Curtis's session is done with, and we're now down to 15 runners as a result. And Flo's just mentioned there in our little chat that we're in, it's a bit of an hassle with the spare car ban. Zorbach further improves in third position. He's now 2 tenths behind Ruslan Protsiut now then. So we just wait for Zorbach's car to appear. And so we just wait, not Zorbach's car, Curtis's car. I was getting the drivers a bit mixed up there. And so we're just waiting for the Irishman to be in the pit lane. And so still waiting for Curtis to be in pit lane at the moment so we can implement the spare car ban. And I think Flo needs to be quick about this because he could be in the garage any minute now. So I do fear he's going to be out on track soon, Flo, if you're not careful. So yeah, where is he? Curtis is still not in the garage, surprisingly enough. I thought he'd be in the garage by now, but clearly not. Where is he? He's probably somewhere. He's still not appeared in the garage just yet as Mr. Aaron Curtis. Second of what? He's still not appeared yet in the garages as we speak. He's clearly taking a while to be spawned at the moment, is his car, so we can implement the spare car ban on him as Oskin is about to go back out onto the track. And where is Curtis now then? He's not in the garage just yet. as we look at Sturt, who's just going around the right-hander. And still waiting for the Trident to appear in the garage as we look at his teammate Chobot for the meantime. And has he made it back to the garage yet, though? It's one of those things where you can't really be too careful with, because otherwise you'll end up on the track if you're not paying attention. In the garage now? No. It seems like his AI is not willing to play ball. I guess it's one of those cases where he's got to wait for somebody to be back into the pits, really, for him to be out on track. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. I guess they've reached the limit in terms of how many cars can go out, because sometimes cars can get left behind on certain occasions. So Suto, meanwhile, crosses the line in the Charoux, does not improve. He stays where he is for the time being, as Kulazek, meanwhile, has gone up into 7th place in the Prema. Speaking of Premas, his teammate Bavona stays in 16th place, as Chobot goes up into 11th place as more cars are coming in. So I wonder if this is now going to spawn Curtis or not. We'll have to wait and see. Sereznia goes up into 9th position as Sturt crosses the line there then, as Synonym is in the pit lane. So I wonder if this is actually going to spawn Curtis's car by any chance. You would imagine it would, but we will wait and see, of course, as now we look at Oskin. He's just making his way down the straight now then. And so just looking for a Trident in the garage, as now Kirby crosses the line in the ART Grand Prix car. Cannot improve, and he stays where he is for the time being as he makes his way through into the first few corners on the racetrack. And so far, the ART Grand Prix drivers currently in 4th and 19th during this session. And has Curtis now been spawned in the ever-growing tale of, is Curtis's car going to get spawned in the garage today? Clearly not, as Prazan goes 6th for the moment in the high-tech Grand Prix car, as Curtis's spawn has not been spawned yet. So that's a bit bizarre. Why Curtis is not appearing? I don't think his car is stuck anywhere on the racetrack. I mean, there's no dot at the chicane, so I don't see another dot at the chicane. So I don't think anything's happened to his car at all.
He just implemented the ban on himself or something. I don't know.
Probably, I don't know. He might have somehow had the power to do that himself. Bizarre here. Anyway, Crest goes into 16th position, and it's P16 for the German now. Then, as we look at Agatina Bavona now, then he's just going out of that. He's now approaching turn 3, I should say, and so currently 17th at the moment. Teammate Kulazek in 8th at the moment, so 8th and 17th for the two Prema drivers at this point. Just over 15 minutes to go now then in the session, and finally he's in the garage. Finally, he's found his way around and has finally found his way back to the garage. So now finally Flo can implement that spare car ban on Mr. Curtis. So
he became a god. Really. He became a god for a few minutes, and then he reappeared.
Yeah. As we now, so Curtis is now in the garage. We've got another yellow flag, and it's Oskin. It's Oskin who's gone off the track, and it's at turn 1, oddly enough. And that's that. As well, Oskin is now done, so we're now down to 14 cars in this session. It looks like he might have gone a bit too quickly into the first corner there.
Yep.
So that's his session done with, as the man who finished runner-up in the championship last season is now crashed into the first corner. As we have just under 15 minutes to go in this session, and as now that's that. As his car will now have to appear in the garage. I wonder if his car will appear quicker than what Curtis's did. We'll have to wait and see on that. Unless his becomes a bit of a continuing tale, I suppose. And so Under 15, over 14 minutes to go now then in this session, and this is what the leaderboard looks like. Protsuk at the top with Suto in second, Zorbak in third, then it is De Oliveira in fourth with Sturt in fifth, then it is Prazan sixth, Sazanov seventh, Kulazek in eighth with Curtis in ninth, then it is Sereznia in 10th, followed by Tilsley in 11th, Andrioli in 12th, Chobot in 13th, Oskin 14th, Blackwood 15th, Crest 16th, Bavona 17th, Synonym 18th, Kirby in 19th, Broster in 20th, Keoshane 21st, and Arnold in 22nd position. And Oskin's car is now into the garage, so we can now implement the spare car ban in this session. As yeah, that's that really. As we now wait for as now it's been implemented. As Proxy now goes back out onto the track, and so. As we see Zorbak as the Synonyms about to start another lap, as here comes Zorbak now then through into the final couple of corners we will go now then, as Kirby now then goes up into 17th position now then, as now, and now coming down the straight now then we'll go Nicholas Zorbak in the car lane, and now across the line he goes, and he does not improve, he stays where he is at the moment, which is P3 on the racetrack. And now there's 14 cars left in this session. Hopefully we don't get any more, but knowing our luck, that's probably not going to be the case. It's Kirby at the moment going through into turn 3 there, as he just comes out of the turn now then. And now approaching the left-right with chicane, where we've seen a few crashes today. Through the left and then into the right-hander will go the Brazilian driver. And let's see what Kirby's first sector is like, and he's 4 attempts down, probably because of that mistake he made going through into turn 3 there. As now he makes his way towards the castle section now, then through the left, then up the hill, through the right, and then into the left-hander will go Joao Pedro Kirby in the ART Grand Prix car, making his way towards the double left-hander now. Then he will go as he flicks it in for the first part, and then into the second part now then he will go before making his way down towards the left-hander. Down the hill he goes, and now making his way towards the left-hander now then we will go, as he's now 1.4 seconds off in the middle sector, so it shows how much that mistake he made has definitely cost him time, as James Sturt goes out onto the racetrack. As now we look at the remaining cars that are left really in this session. There's only 14 cars now left. We've had 8 cars retiring, as it were, from this session. 7 of them have been crashes, and the only other one has actually been a mechanical failure. You've had 1 mechanical failure in this session, all the others have been crashes. So Zorbak now they're making his way towards the straight now then, and I wonder if this whole thing with Formula 2 today is going to end up on a future Hunger Games event that Evan likes to do sometimes on a Friday or Saturday night. So yeah, that's that. So that will be something to bear in mind, as now Suto just comes out of the corner as we are coming up towards the 11 minutes to go mark. We eventually got there after all the action that we've had today, and so I wonder, have we seen the last of it, Danny, or do you think there'll be at least one more by the remaining 10 or so minutes?
At least one more. I'm not trusting it anymore.
Yep, as the crash counter, as Dennis is keeping a tally of, is now at 7. Of course, Broster's one doesn't count, as that was a mechanical failure. So all the others are all driver error. So Foxhoot now then making his way onto the pit straight now then, as he's now going to cross the line. Currently 92 thousandths ahead of Jose Federic Suto Charoux's car, and it's going to remain at the moment on a 1 minute 49.803. You can see all the tyre marks. In fact, you could just see it as a proxy just came out of the first corner there, just how much tyre marks have been laid out at that first corner. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some down at turn 6 as well.
Yeah, all the lookups there as well.
Yep, as Synonym goes into 11th. I wonder if there's tyre marks as well at the corner afterwards, which is turn 7, just before you approach, of course, the castle section. Kirby back into the pits, And so far, both the ART boys have survived this carnage here at the Baku City circuit. As now Suto making his way down towards the left-hander, and now coming towards the end of sector 2, as it looks like he's going to have a lock-up now. Yep, a little bit of a mistake there for Joseph Frederick Suto, as now Suto will now make his way towards the final 2 corners, as now we look at Cress, a lock-up for him there, going through into that left-hander. And
we've seen that
clearly,
a couple of times as well.
Yep, as 4 temps down in that middle sector, as we now look at how the rest of the field is going at this point in time. So far, the whole pack is separated by 2.2 seconds, which could increase if Protsiuk improves, but it won't reduce, of course, because Arnold is not taking part for the remainder of this session. As now, then across the line, he will go in the MP Motorsport, and he does not improve on this occasion. And so he stays where he is. Blackwood just behind him, though, does improve to go up into 15th, gets in front of Oskin, who is obviously not taking part for the remainder of this session. Here is Suto. Obviously, the top 5 are obviously still in this session at the moment. As Suto now then makes his way towards the left-right chicane now, then through into the left, and then into the right-hander he will go. As now he will approach the double right-hander very soon now then, and which is right now. As now we look at Ruslan Protsiuk in the high-tech Grand Prix car as he flicks it through the left-hander. A bit of a lock-up for him there, as so far he's looked pretty good on both days, has Ruslan Protsiuk. Who knows really, could this finally be the year that Protsiuk actually challenges for the title? Well, we say that about every preseason and it ends up falling off a cliff, so we'll wait and see really. I wouldn't want to jump to any form of conclusion with Protsiuk, but you never know, of course. He has been desperate for a long time to get into the top class. Could this season finally be the season where he finally breaks his duck? We'll have to wait and see on that, as Chobot makes his way through the left-hander now then, and approaching the end of the second sector, and he's 1 tenth down in that middle sector now then, as he will now come up towards the final couple of corners. And so now through the left as well, had a bit of oversteer there, but luckily able to correct it. I wonder if he caught a little bit of a bump just at the beginning of that part of the track as Chobot comes down the pit straight. We have passed the 8 o'clock mark, by the way, here in the UK, for anybody wondering, just to give you a bit of an indication of how much these crashes have put everything back. And it's pretty much delayed us from announcing what the first voted track is going to be for the season, because that's of course going to be the opening race of the 2022 F2 season, for anybody wondering. So of course, do stick around after this session, because we will be revealing what the first round of 2022 is going to be, as Blackwood improves but remains in 15th, only improved by a tiny bit though. I've just realised though, looking at the gap, as now Tinanome comes down the pit straight now then, as he now will make his way onto the pit straight, and across the line now then will come the Van Amersfoort driver. I'm not expecting him to improve, as Kirby has just started a lap there, as now he just makes his way through into turn 2, and so now just coming out of the turn, as we have just under 6 minutes to go now then in this session, and so far it looks like nobody's challenging Protsiuk at this point, Danny.
Yeah, and it looks like nobody's challenging for crashes either, so hopefully no more.
We'll say that, and then next thing you know, somebody's binned it in the wall somewhere. Next thing you know, it'll be the castle section that somebody bins it at, like Rick Yan did in the top class back in 2017. So hopefully not, but we will wait and see on that, with just under 5.5 minutes to go in this session. 4 temps down in the first sector for Kirby, and in fact he's actually up in the first sector, despite I think I saw a little error from the Brazilian during that lap, as Wojtek now then trying to get by, and I think that was Suto's. Whoa, a big lock up there for Kirby coming out of the castle section there. It just shows how much they push, even during a pre-season testing event in this, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's now down on his personal best as a result of that mistake.
Is, let's see.
Going towards the end of the second sector, and we won't see because in fact he is down on his personal best, and as I don't know if I should reveal that or not. What Evan has put in one of our chats about one of the cars in this series. So, I think I'll leave that for the time being. So now coming around the double right-hander now, then as he will now make his way towards the castle section. And 1.6 down on his personal bet on Proxuke as a result of that for Kirby. Shows how much of a costly error that mistake was coming out of that castle section. And so now we will approach the next section of corners as Kirby now then goes down towards turn number 3 on the racetrack now then as he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside. As he'll be looking to see if he can correct it on this occasion, as Synonym, I think, just had a moment going through into turn 3 there, as the Japanese driver looking to have a better season than last season, where he looked quick at times, but was just it was just a bit of inconsistency really for the Japanese driver, and for sure that will be looking to have a better season in 2022. 1/10 down in the first sector and 1/10 down on his personal best. So it shows he did have quite a strong first sector a little bit earlier on in the session. As Blackwood now then just coming around the final couple of corners on the racetrack. So through the final turns he will go. As soon we will be approaching the end of the session. Blackwood coming down pit straight now then here at Baku, as he will soon be coming across the line very, very soon now then across the line he will go, as Kirby is now up on his personal best, so we could be looking at an improvement here for Kirby, and he could be around about where Curtis, Sereznia and Synonym are, so we'll see if that's going to be the case for Joao Pedro Kirby as he makes his way onto the pit straight. Can he potentially get both ART Grand Prix cars into the top 10? Let's see as he comes down the pit straight and across the line will come Joao Pedro Kirby in the ART. Across the line he goes, and he goes 17th. In fact, he lost quite a bit of time in that last sector, so only P17 for Joao Pedro Kirby on that occasion. A little bit surprising there, if I'm being totally honest. As Proxuke again having a moment through into turn 3 there, I think, as he just comes out of turn 4 there, does the high-tech Grand Prix car. And now around the left and right-hander it will go, as Crest comes out on track. He'll probably do one more flying lap before the session comes to a close, although Prazan, I think, is trying to get by him on this straight. So let's see if he can. He's going to go to the inside, and Prazan, is he going to get the move done into turn 3? And I think he has done. I think he's got the move done, although Crest is still there on the inside, as Prazan gives him enough space, but he hangs it around the outside, and the overtake is done there. So good move there from Prazan, taking full advantage of Crest coming out of the pits there. As now lock up there for Proxy, because as he comes around the corner, he looked like he nearly went in the wall there, but luckily he didn't. He used a lot of curb on the exit there, it's fair to say, as he will get one more flying lap after this one because of how much time there is left on the clock, as they now go through the final couple of corners on the racetrack as they make their way onto the pit straight now then. We will go Proxy down the pit straight, and he will soon be coming across the line as we look at Kirby, who's now going around left-hander now then, as now he will come towards the final few turns on the racetrack through the left, then through into the right-hander, as now they come down the straight now then, as under a minute to go now then in this session, as 45 seconds to go now then on the clock. I think we're going to ride on board with these drivers for the remainder of it. Kirby across the line, no improvement, as in fact no, we're not going to do the Yuri system, as now a few cars coming across the line, including Crest, to do his one and only lap remaining in this session, as he tries to re-overtake Prazan going through into the first corner, but I wonder if Prazan is going to give him any space. And in fact, I think Prazan's just locked up going into the first corner, and as a result, it allowed Crest through. 18 seconds left, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and then 10, 9, 8, 7, and then 6, 5, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, and now 0, and the checker flag is out. That is the end of pre-season testing. Prazan and Crest were the last two cars to cross the line in this section, so we'll wait for them to cross the line. Suto now then coming down the pit straight now. Then across the line he will go. Is he going to find any time in the last sector? And no, he doesn't. Stays 92 thousandths down. Agatina Bavona across the line he will go in the Premo as he makes his way onto the pit straight, and across the line he will now go, and he does not improve. He stays where he is at this point. Nicholas Zorbach currently in third. Very happy with the pace that he's done today, judging from what I've seen. As Nicholas Zorbach across the line will come the German driver. He crosses the line now then, and he does not improve. He stays where he is. As Protsiuk across the line, he goes now then in the high-tech Grand Prix car, and he is not going to improve. Wojciech Kulizek doesn't improve. He stays where he is. Kirby now then making his way onto the straight now. Then doesn't look like the Brazilian is going to be making an improvement on this occasion. He makes his way onto the straight now then, and the Brazilian is now going to cross the line. So now Kirby across the line we go, and no improvement. Chobot across the line, no improvement for him. De Oliveira, can he improve? I don't think he will either. And no, he doesn't, no improvement. Kress across the line, no improvement. In fact, no, he does. He goes to 17th. Prad's on the last one to cross the line. He doesn't improve. And there you have it then. That is the final day of preseason testing done. Proxute top, Suto in second, with Zorbach in third, De Oliveira in fourth, with Sturt in fifth, Prazan in sixth, Sazonov in seventh, Kulizek eighth, Curtis in ninth, Sereznia in 10th, Sinanome in 11th, with Tilsley 12th, Andrioli 13th, Chobot 14th, Blackwood in 15th, Oskin in 16th, Kress 17th, Kirby in 18th, with Bavona 19th, Broter in 20th, Keochani in 21st, and Arnold in 22nd position. A lot of crashes during that session, and well, I think Flo will definitely be reconsidering potentially going to Baku again for a pre-season test. But now we just got to wait for him to put down what the first race of the season is going to be in our track, and he's just put it down for us. And so that's that then. So he has revealed what the track is going to be then for the first race of the season. So you guys ready to hear the first track of the season? I bet you are indeed. So the first race of the 2022 Formula 2 season, the first voted track of the season, and it's a bit of a surprising one. It will be the Turkish Grand Prix at Istanbul. Now, you may remember the last time that this series went to Turkey. It was not the best, if we remember. It had fuel issues with that track. And it seems that the fuel issues, according to Flo, have been fixed. But if there are any other issues with the track, then it will be changed. But as far as he's concerned, the track is fine unless something happens from now until next week. But the first race of the season will be the Turkish Grand Prix at Istanbul. Hopefully, a very exciting first race of the season, Danny.
Indeed, it is surprising actually. I didn't expect that, but Istanbul is a good track and should be fun. And I hope the tests go well. Goes well. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, and it does mean as well it will have a back-to-back with Azerbaijan. So logistically, it kind of makes sense, the first two races, Turkey and Azerbaijan being back-to-back with each other. So there you have it then. That has been pre-season testing for Formula 2. I hope you have enjoyed it. Very enjoyable indeed. Of course, tomorrow we will have the top class race over at the Chinese Grand Prix in Shanghai, which sees Armar Car on pole position. Hopefully it should be a good race for that as well. But until then, has been it. Of course, the first Formula 2 race of the season will be on next week, as mentioned, at Istanbul Park for their Turkish Grand Prix. So do look out for that one. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching. I've been JW97. He's been Danny. Hopefully Rob is back next week, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.